Hello everyone, how are you doing? Today, we will watch a short recap of the movie Catch Me If You Can. 1963 Frank Abagnale Jr., the 16-year-old son of a respected member of one of the American clubs, Abagnale Sr., along with his family, is forced to move from New York to another city and buy a new apartment, since his father's bank refused him. On Frank's birthday, his father gives him a bank check as a gift. At the new school, Frank, taking advantage of the absence of a French teacher, introduces himself as the new teacher and teaches this subject to the students, gives grades, assigns homework, and even takes them on a trip to the bakery twice. A week later, his prank is discovered and Frank is summoned to the director. Frank soon learns that his parents are getting divorced. When he is asked to choose which of them he will live with, he runs away from home. This is how the story of the scammer begins. Posing as a journalist for the school newspaper, Frank learns from a former pilot about Pan American pilots' checks, after which he easily forges such a check and orders a pilot's uniform. Working for the company as a pilot, Frank flies to different parts of the world and receives $3 million thanks to fraud, although he simply sits in the cockpit with the pilots as a member of the team. He even writes about his successes to Abagnale Sr. He begins to be respected in different crews. He calls his father and meets with him. He tells him that he bought a car for him and asks him to take a ride with his mother. But his father says that she already lives with her new husband in another place. Frank continues his career, and Special Agent Carl Hanratty begins to investigate his affairs, since Abagnale has already cashed checks throughout the United States. He almost catches Frank in the hotel room, but he introduces himself as Secret Service Agent Barry Allen and says that he supposedly already arrested Abagnale and hands Carl his ID in a case. After Carl takes the wallet with the ID, Abagnale leaves. Carl opens the case and sees pieces of paper there, realizing that Abagnale has deceived and disgraced him. Hanratty gets angry and goes to catch him. He soon learns that Abagnale gave his name to the comic book hero Flash, and, after meeting Frank's mother, he realizes that the criminal is a minor. Abagnale calls Carl and asks him to forgive him and not pursue him anymore, but he promises to catch him. Frank throws a party at his house, after which he leaves the next morning for the hospital, where he meets a young employee, Brenda. Frank soon begins an affair with her. He gets a job at the hospital as the chief physician, doing so under the name Frank Connors. However, when Abagnale is asked to perform an operation, he runs away from the ward because he does not know how to operate. He also meets Brenda's parents, who have been at odds with their daughter, and gets a job as a lawyer for the girl's father. Soon he is preparing for his wedding to Brenda. Carl investigates Frank's house after the party and soon finds him again. Right on the eve of the wedding, he and the agents come to the celebration, but Abagnale and Brenda are locked in the room. Frank reveals himself to her and shows her a bunch of money, after which he runs off and promises to meet her at the airport in the morning. Arriving at the airport, Frank notices his fiancée, but does not dare to approach because he discovers agents and she apparently made a deal with the FBI. Having lost hope, he becomes a pilot again and organizes a competition for girls who dream of becoming flight attendants. Thanks to this trick, he sneaks on board the plane with the girls, right from under Carl's nose. Frank leaves the United States and heads to a small village in France, where his father met his mother. Hanratty, having learned that Frank is committing fraud in a foreign country, goes to France and finds Abagnale, but he refuses to give up and plans to flee. Carl convinces him that the police are waiting for him on the way out and will kill him, and after some hesitation, Frank agrees. As they leave, the police arrive and take Abagnale with them. Hanratty promises that he will take him back to the United States. In 1969, he takes Abagnale on a plane to the United States to meet his father, but on the plane, Carl admits to Abagnale that his father died after falling from the steps at the station. Then Frank locks himself in the toilet, and when the plane lands at the airport, escapes from the plane in front of Carl. Abagnale runs to the house where his mother lives and sees his little sister through the window. He falls into despair, and when the FBI arrives at the scene with Carl, he voluntarily surrenders. Abagnale is jailed for 12 years. Carl comes to him and brings comics, after which he offers him a job with the FBI. for which Frank's sentence will be reduced. Frank agrees and together with Carl, begins to investigate the case of his follower, who began using counterfeit bank checks. While working, Frank decides to escape, and, in a pilot's uniform with a forged check, prepares to fly away. Hanratty catches up with him and says that now no one is holding Frank, and that he must choose his own path, after which he leaves. Frank nevertheless returns to the FBI, and together with Carl, they begin a conversation about the fraudster. The credits indicate that Frank Abagnale was released from prison after 4 years for collaborating with the FBI. This is how this film ends. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel. There will be many more new videos. See you!